The JamgHe High Speed resin is a resin that promises high speed printing, pretty good detail, and it comes in at a relatively decent budget as well. So in this video, I'm going to test it out and see whether or not those claims live up to what's promised. Now, full disclosure, JamgHe did send me over this bottle of resin free of charge, but no big bags of money have exchanged hands, which is a shame because I do really like big bags of money. So take that as you will, but I'll try to keep this as impartial as possible. So the JamgHe High Speed resin, it retails for around about £23, which is a pretty decent price, and it comes in on the lower end of resin budgets. It's meant to be a high-speed resin, which means you should be able to print things off a little bit faster than some other types of resin, and it's meant to also be a little bit easier to work with. Now, compared to a lot of resins out there, this is a really nice runny resin. So if you're new to 3D printing, or if you don't have the absolute ideal conditions, like being able to keep things heated or it's a little bit too cold, it's a very nice resin to use straight out of the bottle. My garage at the moment has been incredibly cold, and I have to have everything heated up in this grow tent. But even before I had the heaters running, it ran really nicely. It was a very, very runny resin. So even without my heaters and not having the ideal temperature, I could probably still use this and get some pretty good results from it. With it being so runny as well, that's what helps it just to be a little bit faster because everything's moving a little bit more freely. And I did find in my experience, I got around about 20% faster prints by lowering the exposure times. I didn't go too crazy in testing out how fast I could push this, but with just some basic tests, I managed to get about 20% faster printing results, which is pretty good, and I reckon I could push that even further. Now, what about the print quality? You know, the all-important print quality. Now, for this, I printed off a whole bunch of different things. I printed off these goblin stone throwers, I got this orc with a whip, I also got this like Bretonian lady, and then obviously I used my standard demon stuff. Now, instead of doing my usual where I try and get some pictures and videos of the just printed model, I decided to prime some of these up, also get painted as well, just that way I could experience some of the detail, and hopefully it shows up a little bit better on camera. And I've got to say, the detail is really, really impressive on these. I had a couple of areas where I had like a partial failure, but that could have been down to the supports. So on some of the catapults, for example, you will see some big layer lines that go across it, but I do think that's mostly because of the supports rather than the resin itself. Where it's printed out perfectly, I've got some really good, clear, defined detail on there. On all the goblins, for example, I can see all their eyes, all the muscles, all the different bits on the rope, and everything's come out very nicely. The wood, I can see all the grain texture and all the bits that I want to be able to see on there. And the same is across on like the orc with the whip and on the lady with a staff. So all in all, the detail looks really good. And on miniatures, looks fantastic. I'm really happy with the results that I got from this. And moving across onto the next bit, and that is the durability of these. And when I was painting these, I was really expecting it to have awful durability. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First up, everything feels quite solid, and that might seem like a good thing, but sometimes when it's so solid, if you drop them, then they tend to break or shatter. And also as well, at the price point it's coming at that £23, for example, and whenever they have some kind of gimmick like high speed, water washable, standard resin, anything like that, it tends to be relatively, just let's say it, crap when it comes to durability. So for my drop test, I grabbed my Demons by one-page rules because they've got so many fiddly bits on there that it gives me a decent idea as to how well a normal mini will survive if you drop it. I dropped it from 3 different heights, so I take 5 minis per height and drop them and see how many survive. Now, I'll do my best to make sure I've got the height listed on the screen as well, so editing Sean, make sure you sort that out. So for that low height, all 5 of the demons survived, which I was expecting the vast majority of them to start breaking at this low height because of the type of resin it is and because just the feel of it when I've been painting it. Moving across onto the medium height, where I expected basically everything to die, and 4 demons survived, which is much more impressive than I expected. And then when we got to the top height, you know, like the top tier shelf height, 2 of them survived, so not quite as impressive, but I didn't expect anything to make it through to this stage. So out of 15 demons, a decent amount of those survived, and I was really impressed, and this kind of surprised me because, like I said, I expected this not to be particularly good because it feels quite rigid, which means that when you drop them, I expected them to snap a lot more. Now, anecdotally, I do wonder if you were to push any of the weapons and like really bend them, they probably would snap. So bear that in mind, but that's just purely anecdotal. But for drop test, which is the most likely thing to happen to your miniatures, they did a really good job. It's not at the same height as something like the JamgHe Art Engineering resin, which all of the demons survived across all of the drop tests, but that's a lot harder to work with. So if you really want that flexibility and you're willing to put in the time to really dial in the settings, then something like that is better. But if you're happy to have something that's faster and also much easier to work with, then the high speed resin does a really good job. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with this. I got faster printing results. it's easier to work with, and it's pretty durable. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the quality of this? All in all, I think for the price point, it's a really good budget option for a resin that also offers some nice extras that don't seem too gimmicky, and it also delivers on some of that durability as well, which I completely didn't expect to happen. So thanks for watching that video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hit the like and subscribe button, come along for some more content. If you want to pick up some of this resin, I'll have it all linked down below as well. Anything you do buy through those links give me a little bit of kickback. It doesn't cost you any extra, but just helps to support the channel. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. And thanks to JamgHe for sending this resin over, and fingers crossed I'll get to try some more bits from them in the future. Ta-ra for now. Bye.